Well, hello everybody. Happy Friday and welcome to Aquarius Rising Africa. And I am delighted to have with me today the amazing Joanne Breeze, all the way from Australia. And as I've said, she's an overcomer extraordinaire. But before I bring her on, I want to just again give a shout out to our amazing sponsor, the awesome people from Spooky2, who are the creators of the home rife machine. Let me try that again. The creators of the home rife machines, and it's just the most incredible system they've created for healing with energy. So you can get from the tiny little hiwi, which is what I have, and man, don't ever be fooled by the size of that little thing, because it is amazing. You guys have seen me often rave about it on the show. But yeah, so before we go any further, we're just going to do an ad for our sponsor. I'm just loving the dog on the bed, and her child out there with her sunglasses. Really amazing product, guys. So if you want to check it out, the link is in the description area of this video. And please use my name, Chantelle, to get a 5% discount on your product. So yeah, it's really, as I said, an amazing product, and looking forward to, I mean, as I said, I have one. A lot of people have got them, and I've only heard amazing results from everyone with these amazing frequency machines. Frequency medicine is definitely the medicine of the future. Okie dokie, without any further ado, I'm bringing onto the stage with me the awesome and lovely and amazing Joanne Breeze. Well, guys, before I even start speaking to Joanne, I have to say, as you all know, I have a very soft spot for Australians, and I see Kerry's in the chat room. So of course, Kerry is our regular Aussie who comes on and has a great voice for the adoptees, you know, and parents as well, and really a great advocate for Australians in general and also what's going on there. And through this channel, you know, I have to say, I feel so blessed to be doing what I do. And I got to tell you, it is not easy. I'm a healer and I have a lot of strength from God, that's for sure. There's not even a question around that. I've worked with some very challenging situations in my life, not only in my life, but in those around me. And that path has led me to work with and meet some incredible overcomers all across the world. For you guys who've been watching this channel for at least 3.5 years now, you will know not just from South Africa, not a few from South Africa. I always say us South Africans are very shy, and we're a shy bunch when it comes to speaking up about these things. Americans, Europeans, Brits, and most certainly the Australians. The Australians have definitely shared a lot of the horrors that happen in that country. Although, again, on the surface, everything looks so beautiful and placid there, doesn't it? But then, you know, I get to meet people like Joanne Breeze, who, when I hear her story, it breaks my heart. I'm not going to lie. It absolutely shatters my heart into 1,000 pieces. And then I think to myself, Chantelle, you think you've got shit in your life? No. I don't actually. I'm very blessed, and even more blessed to meet people like Joanne and so many of all of you other overcomers out there. But one thing that really touched me so much about Joanne's story is the fact that she has used inner healing, and we're going to talk more about that in weeks to come as well, because she's also going to be joining me every second week on a Friday. At this time, actually an hour later, we're going to be logging on an hour later, so it'll be 12 o'clock South African time. I know Joanne's near Perth, so 6 o'clock, whatever. You know, we just got to you know all your different time zones. But she uses the Joeys or the Kangaroos, who are just incredible healers. I mean, anyone who knows anything about the animals will know what amazing healers animals are. So we're going to be talking more about that as we go along. But yeah, so let's just start off and we can just talk about Joanne, and maybe you can share with us your story as we go along. So Joanne, hey, congratulations. I want to say congratulations. That word just slipped off my tongue. I wanted to correct myself, but I realized there's nothing to correct, because I want to say thank you and congratulations for actually stepping up and sharing your story. I know I've been chatting to you sort of for a couple of months, like behind the scenes now. And again, like with every survivor and overcomer who steps forward in the initial stages of their journey, it's always a challenge to speak up for the first time. So I want to say to you, welcome to Aquarius Rising Africa, and thank you so much for joining us. So how are you, Joanne?
Hello, Chantelle, and that's so absolutely ditto back to you. As I told you some time ago, this soul and this woman is still here because of the love and the kindness and the work you do. So you give us this space and platform that is integral to us being able to stand up and say, hey, I want someone to listen, and I want to help others to come out of what they've gone through so they can stand up and say, I'm here and I can do this. Because I was born in 1968 and I was the second child. I had a sister who was 18 months older. We lived in
I
the
want to
Wheat
just
Belt.
ask you, you sound a little bit soft. Sorry to interrupt you. I hate to interrupt you.
That's all
Is
right.
there any way you could maybe either just sit a little bit closer to your microphone or turn it up or something like that? That would be great. Thank you.
Yes, just turned it up and a bit closer. That bit better?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much.
Good. Yeah, well, I was born in 1980, not 86, 68. And we lived in the Wheat Belt, which is country and farming and huge, big properties. And like we spent most of our time as a family because of distance between there to a town, other people around. So it was quite isolated. And it was, there were good times, there were bad times, there were really hard times. We had, after my sister and I, there was 3 brothers that followed, and they came within about 5-6 years. So there were 7 of us in this family. And you think being on a farm, all that freedom and all that space, and there couldn't be anything like abuse. You know, there wouldn't be time for that sort of stuff. But there is. It doesn't matter what walk of life you come from or what area, it's always there in the background. So as a young child and being on these farms, I got to take in any lambs that the mothers couldn't have because of they may have rejected the lamb or there might have been a problem. So someone had to take these lambs and rear them on the bottle. And we got to do that. That's a side of my mother that was so precious, was the connection to the animals. And this is something that's prevalent to share. When you connect to that animal and the animal connects to you, the healing begins. The healing of anything in your life. So there we are in the middle of winter, and all these sheep, they've got thousands of sheep, are lambing. So we might have 10 or 12 or even more lambs all around the big open fire, keeping warm, feeding them bottles, which was absolutely beautiful. And then, of course, we could take time out of the trauma going on around us constantly. Where I grew up with a father who is a pedophile, ritualistic abuse in the churches. We were fly-by-night people. We were just gone. We never stayed in one place or even a farm or in a jobs for very long at all because people would start to find out things and we were gone.
May I just interrupt you if you don't mind and ask you, so what you're saying to me is that your father wasn't actually part of a cult. He was more just
a cult.
Yeah, he was more just a pedo that was running by his own volition. And was
gosh,
when
no.
Okay.
The whole family extended was all part of this. The whole families. It was all big and integrated. It was their own, and there were others involved as well from the outside. The trucking community, it was huge.
So it wasn't just in your family, and from there you had your mum, your dad, your sister, and your 3 brothers. So there was 5 of you in your immediate family. So what you're saying is that this was quite an organized, the pedophilia was quite an organized operation or setup, if you will, that was spreading throughout. It had its tentacles throughout your immediate as well as your extended family. But did it remain in your family, or was it also in schools and churches and things like that?
It was all the way through, Chantelle, and we'll go through that as we progress on, yes. One vivid memory I have is of, we were all in the truck with my father, my mother was there too, and my sister being handed 2 trucks coming this way, so windows of drivers were together, and my sister was handed over, and then she was returned sometime later the same way. That's how the children were handed and moved.
In trucks?
In trucks.
So are you saying that she was given, the truck drivers were handing the kids to each other to abuse?
Precisely. And I was always glad when it wasn't me being handed over. And I mean, that's not nice, because my sister was. We're looking.
How old were you?
6,
How old were you
7,
when this was going on?
6,
wow.
7. We were only little.
And were you the only 2 girls that this was happening to, or were you aware of other children that were also having this experience?
Aware of these. Yeah, I'm very aware of the others, and I've still got photographs and names on the photographs of every person outside of the family they hurt and abused.
Wow. So these are Aussie truck drivers handing over kids,
yes,
and abusing children. I would imagine boys were also involved, 6, 7 years old, molesting them, yes, and then handing them back through the windows to another truck driver to either have or to bring back.
Return. That's right.
Mm-hmm. So was there a price? Were they prostituting you?
Yes, they got a lot of money.
Wow.
Yeah. It's not nice what happens here. It's not nice what is really happening. My father is still alive. He is in his 79 this year. There is not contact at all. I cannot be around him. I can't even be around my own sister, because my sister was also, when we got a little older, had to bring friends back, and she used to bring them back.
So you were, I mean, it's not the first time I've heard this. So you were actually used to bait children. Right.
And I refused, and I got in trouble a lot. I got a lot of beatings. Whenever we went somewhere new, their favourite thing is, you know, they're all lovely. Our children are lovely, but don't listen to that one. She's a liar. And that's how they've always set it up, because I would always tell everybody. I always do, always did. And I stood there between him and other girls and said, no, they're not here for you. And those women now, we still get together, because at 6, I was doing that. I knew it was wrong all the time. And I didn't want anyone to go through what I went through. I'm sorry.
When did this start
really
for you?
Passionate.
No, please. I mean, absolutely understand this. When did this start for you?
Very young. I could understand. The first thing I remember, but we're very young, because when we were about 3 or 4, he wouldn't give us a kiss goodnight. And I remember my mother saying to him, but Fred, you are allowed to kiss them goodnight. You're just not allowed to do anything else anymore.
So your mum was aware of this too. Was she involved in any way?
Yes.
So let's talk about your mum's involvement with this situation. How was she involved? I mean, was she participating, or did she just turn a blind eye and just allow it to happen?
Well, she participated. Okay, now I'll go back to an early time. We were living in a duplex, and there was a woman and two younger children, two girls. They had come out of a violent situation, and they moved in there. My mother had a camera this particular day. They were invited over for dinner again, and all of us children were told to hold her down. And my father was the predator, and my mother took the photos. She's an enabler. She's a part of it. She grew up with it. She knew it. She still sent us to stay with these people on holidays. Now I go getting passionate again. I do not hate my mother. I do not hate my father. I do not. I forgive. Jesus, I'm with that man. Listen to me. I believe in his love, and I've believed in that since I was as knee-high to a grasshopper, because it's through Jesus I'm still here today, and I believe that. And
Right.
there's people out there that can get out of that trauma and victimology and stand up in the glory of what you've been made, that you're so special, you're so important. Every hair is counted on our head. You know, we don't need to be oppressed by these ones that keep hurting us, because if we carry it on now, we're only hurting ourselves. And we've got the most beautiful Jesus blood, the love. That gets me through, I tell you. And my Joeys, yeah.
I think Jesus sent
And
your
my
Joeys
children.
to you. Yeah, exactly. Wow. Wow. I mean, look, I think anyone can understand you being passionate about this, and I don't think anyone absolutely blames you at all for that, because this is, again, you know, I have to just say from my stand, it never stopped shocking me when I hear these stories. And it's not the first time I've heard stories like this, I've got to be honest with you. But it never stopped shocking me to think about the fact that your father was violating a young child and your mother was standing taking photographs while this was happening, and the kids were forced to hold her down. I mean, that is just on another level. Right.
Yeah, it was. Yes, exactly. You know, and then you start to grow up, and like, we were never allowed to go to somebody else's place to play, because, you know, if anything got out or we slipped anything, it was really not allowed. And I know I did that once in somewhere. I was about 9, maybe 10, and my parents put on the spot that I had to go, because I can't know why, but I had to go to this sleepover. And I never ever did it again, Chantelle, because I learned from that it wasn't worth being put on the mat and having that army belt. No, was not worth the punishment when I got back for going over to someone's house. You know, we always said that our father and the people that were close and were like involved, they taught Hitler everything he knew. And we were not kidding. Never.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean they taught Hitler?
The cruelty, the lengths that it all went, the depravities, they taught Hitler everything Hitler knew. That was our way of putting it.
Right. I see what you're saying. Wow.
Yeah. So, but yeah, no, my mother was an enabler and a participant. But then there was the other side where she'd be that loving mother. And that's where you get sort of, like with me, I've got dissociative episodes, and I still struggle at times when I get triggered, and I'll disassociate and be up and watching my body from the ceiling. That's the best way for me to describe it, because that's safety, my needs, my soul. I'm out of it. I can't do this. I got to watch from up there where it's safe. And I do a lot of grounding. I've done a lot of work on that. That's my gardens, my animals. They do it all, and it's been in the dirt for me, and it's planting, and it's growing, and it's talking to my plants, and it's talking, to Jesus, and getting it all out, and then I can come back to my body. So I still have episodes today of that. And at times, a lot of my memories, even though I've written my book, I can go back and look at my book and start reading it. And it's like I'm reading a story I'm watching from above. I've written it.
Right.
It's from where I saw my story and felt and lived my story. And yeah, sometimes I think, wow.
Because that's quite common with children who are experiencing this type of abuse, is that you would disassociate and you would kind of like leave your body and absorb. I mean, I remember one other survivor I was talking to a while ago was speaking about just leaving the body and riding unicorns in the sky, as she put it.
Oh wow, nice.
Because the trauma of her father raping her was just too much to bear. So that's obviously what the disassociation is about, because, we understand that the mind protects you, and especially the mind of a little child like that, So obviously with lots of these kind of traumatic events occurring, you're going to block out stuff. You're going to not remember, right? And that's why I think when not only what the abusers, the steps they will take to block off your memory, but I think the mind will automatically block things off. And that's obviously later on in life when the overcomers start having these flashbacks and things and start, these memories start surfacing again. I mean, it can be a hugely traumatic thing and very crazy because it's all over the place. And it's oftentimes it's such a disbelief to imagine that your parents, and especially your mother, when we think about mothers, women are supposed to be the nurturers, the caregivers, the givers of life, the protectors. You were in her womb for 9 months. You grew there, you were protected by her entire being. And only to come out and to live the life that she's subjecting you to, I think is very crazy. As a matter of interest, what is her background? I mean, we don't have to go into that in depth, but I'm just wondering, she must have also been part of some kind of abusive system, no doubt, that she was subjected to as a child and that she never healed from. So she just continued, right?
That is right, yes, because her family going right back, they've been steeped into it. They've been a big part of it in Guildford area and the development there and the markets. And this has been in the family in generations and surrounding that are connected since well before her birth and beyond. Her mother was an arranged marriage. Then my mother was born first, and then she had another sister, and then a brother, and then a baby sister. Now, she grew up in the same environment as we did. Of course, she came from that, all the abuse. One thing I know she told me was she had a real fear of heights because they took her on a swinging bridge over a big drop somewhere, and they swung the bridge so bad. She was screaming and hanging on, but they were laughing and having a good old time. And that's the sadistic side that, again, talking with my mother, you know, she never had a break from the sadisticness around her. It was there constant. And she always said, we do not have to bear the sins of our fathers, but, and this is in reference to her father and mine, there is nothing your father will do that you cannot forgive. You must forgive it, because it happens in every generation. It is a part of the family. Either I'm in or I'm out. You're with me or you're not. So she came from terrific and horrific trauma.
Right. Your dad must have. I don't think it's an excuse, you know. However, when you are subjected to that, and you don't have the means to heal, you know, I understand what people say when it's not an excuse. And no, it's not an excuse, particularly when you're subjecting your own children to it, right? And participating in it. But it's like a poison that runs through the body. And if that poison is not stopped or taken out, it's going to continue, right? And the fact that she didn't have the means or the opportunity to heal from her wounds meant that she obviously was taken in. And I would imagine that your father would have then been through similar stuff, right?
Oh, yes. He had a father that was a top boxer in the army, and he had a gun with a machete. He did something to his history of wars, and yeah, guns and machetes, and hiding under the house, and abuse, and yep, they both did. But my big thing, and I'd really love to share this, is the moment my newborn son was put in my arms for me to bath him, and I lowered him into that water, that's when it realized and triggered in here my mother had 5 times to choose to hurt or love. Because that's when you choose it, Chantelle.
Absolutely. You do have that choice, you're right. And especially when you have that tiny little helpless little baby in your arms that is 1,000,000% relying on you for life, for sustenance, for food, for protection, for care, for love, for nurturing. And you as that parent then have the choice to love that child and protect that child, or to go the opposite way. You're right. And I just, you know, and I know just sort of jumping the gun a bit, but we're going to reverse again. I just thank God that you were that you chose to not go down that path again, and that you chose healing. Because, and I say this so often, and I've said it so often, I'll say it another 1,000,000 times. You guys that have come out of this and have healed from it, and are we ever healed? I don't know. But let's say in the process of healing, and choose healing rather, you guys are the true healers in this planet, in this world, because only when you've been through such traumas and such, like literally what Kerry was saying, hell on earth, and it is hell on earth, literally hell on earth, and you come out of it, and you can be forgiving, and you can show compassion and kindness. You guys are the true healers of the world, and you guys are what the world really needs at this space in time, at this point in time, to help others out of this hellhole, because that's really what it is. It's a hellhole. And before we go any further, I want to just, Anya's asked here, did Joanne mention the name of her book? Is your book published yet?
No, I've not got it published, and it's called Survival Instincts, because as soon as you start getting abused, I do believe we do have survival instincts to get us through. And and you know, with that, Chantelle, with what you just said too, the reason I think that we do want to heal and do want to give is because we don't want anybody to feel or go through what we have, and us going through all of that, isn't that what we're here to do? And maybe it'll open a door somewhere that someone can walk through and go, hey, you know, it's in me too. And they can't take that away. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it's all vibrational.
I mean, absolutely. And I think that's, you know, that's where the choice comes in, right? But I also think that depends on the character of the person, of the individual. Anya, and we'll certainly let you know about when Joanne decides to publish her book. And I know Kerry's also got a book on the verge of being published as well. So lots and lots bursting at the seams in Australia, because gosh, I've heard some horrific stories coming from Australia, and I don't want to give Australia a bad rap, because I mean, I have 2 siblings and all of that living there. But you know, I know Australia is amazing, and it's an amazing country, and there's so much amazing things that happen there. And I just look at these survivors and overcomers that come out of Australia as well. And I've got to tell you, my hat's off to you, because I've heard horror stories coming out of there. But anyway, so let's go back a little bit then. So let's reverse to because I want to just take us through the process of your life, basically, and significant situations. Let's talk about your brothers for a moment. I'm always interested in you know, the family unit in these instances. I have no doubt your brothers were also involved in this type of abuse, right? How was it for them?
Well, it totally destroyed the eldest of my brothers. He's terribly affected by it. Yes, they were raped. Yes, they used to, if they didn't comply to anything, they would get a 1-punch hit and they would be unconscious on the floor. I know one of my brothers, Stephen, the second one born after me, he tried to save my sister and I on a few occasions, and he was just knocked out. And all my mother had to say afterwards was, well, you know, you're not meant to interfere, you deserved it, it's your own fault. And my youngest brother, when he was born, he was precious. He was a little bit different to most of us, well, to us. But he too was terribly interfered with, and we saved him a few times. We used to save each other as much as we could, and because we were all very aware of it, but we had to be very stealth about it, if you understand, about what we're doing. and we protected and looked after each other as much as we could, but it really took a toll on my brother's masculinity, their ability to have self-esteem for a start. They were trained to be butchers. They had to do that. Like my father and others ran an illegal abattoirs under the radar. The police knew. And it just stole everything from them. My middle brother Stephen died a few years ago. Too young. We're too young. And he started getting help and started to tell his story. And now we don't have him, but we'll go into more of that as we get further into the story. But yes, my brothers were severely affected and still are today. And none of us are close, Chantelle, because if we ever get together, it is absolutely run for your lives. It does not happen.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean you got to run for your life then when you get together? Do you guys not get along?
No, it's not that. If anybody, like my father got wind of it, any of the uncles, aunts, anyone that knows, because they always know what we're doing, no matter where we are, who we're with, they always know everything, and believe me, they do. That's not a funny thing, it's a real. So if we get together, then it's like this big dark cloud comes down and it gets us all, and it's chaos. And someone's hurt. Someone's very badly hurt or goes missing. We can't do it.
Well, I pray that that's going to change, because, the more that we start bringing these stories to the light, the more that we bring this up to the light, that darkness does not have a hold on the light. It cannot have a hold on God's light. And if God has decided that this is your time to speak, then I am so grateful, because it's like that crack. It's just like a teeny tiny crack that just opens up, and the light comes in, right? And the more of that happens, then the more that that darkness loses its grip on you guys. When you say your aunts and uncles, okay, so now I'm assuming that by saying that, your extended family, so I'm imagining your mother's siblings as well as your father's siblings, and probably cousins as well. And I would imagine that their kids were also tortured and abused. So it was just one big family incestuous pit of torture.
See? Yes, it really was.
And so are they still, I mean, if you say your dad's still alive and your mum, is your mum still alive?
No, my mum died a few years ago now, and before she died, I nursed her, looked after her. We went really deep. We really got everything out. We did all the usual yelling, screaming, crying, stomping, whatever's, and we came to a place of peace and love and understanding. And she died 3 days later.
Well, I'm very happy that she found her peace.
Yes, so am I.
Yeah, and that she was able to leave this life from a place of peace. Yes. And she will, she and God have their reckoning. So I have no doubt that whatever it is that she needs to be accountable for, she will be accountable for, in the way that God needs her to be.
Exactly. So, I believe that, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. It's easy for us to want to just send fire and brimstone there. And I mean, there are days where I'm going, you got to be freaking kidding me. But at the end of the day, you know, it is like that for everyone. And I pray, and I'm very grateful that she has her peace. So, but are you saying though that even now, when you guys, you siblings as adults, you still get together, are you saying that your aunts and uncles and things won't allow that?
No, because they'll interfere
Right.
and create chaos coming
Right.
into our lives, and then we will be triggered.
Yes. So they're
so
not
controlling,
okay.
Chantelle.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. Yeah, I get it. I get it. And I think that's amazing because I just love the fact that you're starting to speak up and that you've got a book, and no doubt at some point that book's going to come out and see the light of day. And you know, as it takes one trailblazer in the family to make a difference. So I pray that you are that person as well. Okay, so what else? I mean, you know, when we go back to your childhood, I mean, when you say you guys moved around a lot because obviously people would be asking questions, you guys had to bait other kids. I would imagine that these kids, when they went home, did they speak to their parents? Was there any trouble about that? Coming back to you guys about that? I mean,
well, I do believe some did. I do believe, but a lot did not. And because the church was involved, Salvation Army, because in those young years we were immersed in that big time. They were a big part of our outer part and joined in with this whole conglomerate. I can't say that word. There's the bands in the Salvation Army. Us girls, excuse my speech, us girls used to play what's called a timbrel. It's like a tambourine, but it is not. It's really hard to play, I'm telling you, Chantelle. It took a lot of practice, you know, and we used to play it to Scottish marching music at events and at church and services, and that, I've lost my train of thought. It was really going somewhere then. See, there it comes in. I've shut that down.
All good.
So I do apologize.
No, absolutely no problem. I'm just looking at Rachel's commentary. Yeah, Rachel Vaughan's been on my channel a few times. In fact, I had a conversation with her a few days ago. And no matter what kind of sexual abuse we suffered, it was abuse, absolutely. And this is all where what the healing is about, you know. So what I was saying to you was that really, you know, so the children that you
hang on, sorry to be rude, but I was going to say, just jump back in there.
Come back for sure.
There was so much access because of us traveling to these different events,
right?
And they had station wagons, and they used to transport them and others, lots of us all in the back of station wagons, so they had access to girls. That is another way they accessed through. That was the religion side of it, but they also took in foster girls. We also had foster sisters over the years, all the time, and what they did to them. These people are so despicable. And just because they're old, they're still despicable. I can't say the word. Sorry. Oops.
I was actually going to ask you about that in terms of, you know, we hear so much about these families who have these sort of situations. They will often adopt children or foster children. And that would then be a common way that they get access to these kids. So you're saying that you had, and was it foster sisters, not brothers? So it was really girls that were adopted. or
Yes, they
fostered
wouldn't
rather
take
in the
boys.
family. Right. Wow.
And yet, my mother's favourite line, all the time we were growing up, to Debbie, myself, and these other foster, I don't know if she said it to them, that might be a lie, so I'm not going to say that because I'm not too sure. But she used to always say to us, well, I never wanted you girls, I only ever wanted boys. You're just in the way. And it was
Your
only
mum
when she
said
was
that to you?
dying. Oh, all the time, and my sister. And then when she was dying, she said, but you girls are the most important now. And I said to her, well, little too late, but okay, we can talk. So, yeah, they didn't want boys, but they loved their 3 boys. But they weren't, they were abused as much. I think one thing my father used to say that really grated with me was, you were born to do as you're told. That's it.
Yeah. Do what I tell you. Don't do what I do what I tell you. And that's it. Yeah. Wow. Okay, so now we've ascertained that. Yeah, exactly. So now we've ascertained that your parents basically were both products of extreme abuse themselves that never really healed. Somehow they got together, married, produced 5 children, 2 girls and 3 boys, that were incessantly abused all the time by them, and not just in your family, but through extended families and the church and Salvation Army, and no doubt the school as well. There would have been people involved from the school as well.
And if you heard of back years ago, they used to have what they called a blue light disco, right? This is police sorting this out and setting this up for the children. I don't know how often it was, but in a town hall, and it was run and looked after well. The 2 biggest pedophiles in the area were the ones running it, and one of them was my father.
So was the blue light disco like a disco for kids? Is that what you're saying?
It was
like a...
Yes, and it was safe because it was organised and put on by police. So that everybody's involved.
And run by pedophiles.
Yes. And both of them had the same name.
So are you saying that they would then traffic the girls and boys from these discos, or they would molest them? What would they do? How would they get the kids at these discos? Do you remember it all?
No, I couldn't tell you for sure. And I'm not going to surmise because I'm not going to say something I don't know. Yeah.
No,
there was a lot of comings and goings, kids coming and going, but to me that was...
Well, no doubt they would have abused that in some way or the other as well, So were you guys, sorry, carry on.
I was saying, if I can get, and my sister can come on here, she'll be able to fill you in on a lot more detail. And I pray she comes on and she tells the story as well, because she was older and she remembers more. And I really hope that she does. And I hope that if she's watching, she finds that courage inside. I really do, because you're beautiful. You really are.
Well, we'll pray that she does, because can you imagine how powerful it is when you have your family members sitting, talking about the same thing and just breaking these ancestral bonds, chains. Yeah, he has Amanda saying...
Sorry, go on.
I'm just reading in the comment, Amanda Ali, blue light disco in Aussie is organized and ran by police for underage kids, mostly in the 80s.
Yep.
Wow.
That's when. Yep.
Okay, so you guys were never really, just sort of just backtrack a little bit. So you were never really in the same place. You didn't have the same home. You were moving around a lot. And obviously, as you say, fostering kids, just having horrible time from what I'm hearing. I'd like to know anyone that because beam me up, Scotty. Hello, Scotty. Is also saying that you guys attended them. Yep, we all attended them. I'd be interested to know if anyone in the chat experienced anything there or knew of anything that was going on in these blue light discos, because, you know, it would be interesting to know that if they were using them just to monitor. Yeah, it was like Anya saying, maybe just as monitoring like an auction regarding the disco. That's exactly what I was thinking. Maybe they're just monitoring, seeing who's there, seeing who's available, seeing what kids they can target. I mean, because I would imagine that not all kids were targetable, you know. So, you know, seeing what kids they could target, and then obviously setting their sights on them, and then later on. Did you guys ever go through, and I'm going to ask you quite a brazen question and quite a gruesome one. I was actually listening to someone this morning talk about the child hunts, and I know a lot of Australians have experienced these child hunts. So was anything like that part of your reality as a child?
It was very much so, and you'd have to learn to run. If you got onto a push bike, you had more of a chance, and it wasn't nice when they fed the sacrificed children to their pigs.
Excuse me, run that by me again.
I said it wasn't very nice when they fed the sacrificed children to the pigs.
Oh my God.
Or when a body had to disappear, they were put in a big drum of acid and there was only slime left. And I only speak like this because it's got to stay matter of fact right now for me.
Okay, so I'm just going to, because we hear a lot about the hunts that occur like at the places like the Rothschilds. What was it? Whatever these Rothschilds places are called. You know, there've been a lot of kids that have spoken about this in the past. So, are you saying that this was also an organized thing? Was it just your families involved, or was it again the police, the communities? Was it like a gathering where certain kids were targeted? How did that work? Can you explain that to me, please?
I can. They used to have treasure hunts that started out with you and your family, and it was a community event. And you go in different places and you'd have to find a list of things and pick them up and come back to a certain point. And then you get together, have food, whatever they put on. And then the hunt really began. But not all were still there, were they? Because a lot of them weren't part of it.
So you're saying it was like this would be done in different waves. So like the first treasure hunt, so you'd have like a gathering where you're having a family treasure hunt and you treasure hunting as like a normal treasure hunt would be. But then certain families would leave after that, and then certain families would stay. And then
Yes.
let's say you would be the kids that would be part of these hunts. So I know that in a lot of these hunts that happen, certain kids are not allowed to be killed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can catch them and you can traumatize them, you can RAPE them, right? But you're not allowed to KILL them. Sorry, I just want to be careful with my words. Yeah, no. I mean, that's all good. So you were obviously part of that. You and your siblings would have been part of that. And were you obviously not allowed to be sacrificed, call it that?
Oh no, the five of us, if we got beyond a certain point, hurt or touched, my father actually hung somebody up on a hook one day. He went too far, and he was a slaughterman. He hung him up by his shirt jacket. He got him down after a little while, but that was the only warning he got.
But why? He went too far with you? You kids?
Yep.
So your father was allowing them to go to a certain point with you, but not beyond a certain point.
That's right. That was
Any
the rules.
specific reason for that?
We just weren't allowed to be touched. Past that. That's it. That's all we knew. We were going to be okay. Not really, but okay. We're going to still breathe at the end of the night.
So which kids were not okay? I mean, who were the kids that were not okay? Were they foster kids? Were they, I mean, I know that they would then generally be called expendable kids. I mean, I know that's what they called in the hierarchy system. So who were the expendable kids then?
A lot of them were actually born for that purpose.
Oh.
Okay, and I'm sorry, but it is real.
No.
And they didn't. A lot of people didn't even know about them. These were kept very quiet and away. That's why farms and that were owned.
Right. So we talk, I mean, this again was not just a few families. This is a pretty organized system that was very well orchestrated, because you hear that as well. I know when Caleb, Jade, and Jesse were actually talking about the wild hunt that takes place once a year. And they were saying also these busloads of kids would just appear out of nowhere. They had no idea where these kids came from. And I think, it must be what Jesse was talking about from the breeder programs. So they would either be maybe trafficked or kidnapped kids, or part of the breeder programs, and then you could obviously purchase them, right? So what you're saying is these kids were then expendable ones. They could do with them.
As they pleased.
How big are we talking is this event? Like, are we talking 10 kids, 20 kids, 50 kids, 100? How many kids are we talking?
Oh, wow. No, I'd say about 20 to 30 kids, because it wouldn't be huge. It couldn't be really, really huge. It would draw too much attention. That I did understand.
So this was taking place on somebody's farmland?
Yep. Because that's where you shoot the roos and the rabbits. You go out hunting, you see.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so then how would they be hunting them? In vehicles?
Yeah, they're on vehicles. There'd be a driver. You'd have the men on the back with their guns set up with spotties. That's how they hunt.
Wow. Okay, so then they would take them and the sacrificed kids. Okay, let's talk about that.
It was always done down where the slaughtering was done, because of course there was sheep and all that was slaughtered near the sheep house, the chicken house, and the roo dogs were there, so that if anything got away, the roo dogs were set on them. And the sacrifice would happen, and the pigs were not too far off, on one particular property, they were about 1 kilometre away from where it was sacrificed. And if they weren't cutting the throat and letting the blood out and breaking the neck, it was important. They just do a second shot to the head, and then it would be all put in for the pigs, and there's nothing. They don't leave anything. They eat everything, those things. I mean, I got to a stage where I rescued a pig some years ago, Chantelle, so that I could face that it wasn't the pig's fault and that the pig wasn't the bad ones, because they were just eating. And I've still got that pig here today, and I give her a shower and a bath, not a bath, and with a little scrubby brush, and spend time with her. And we've named her Dorothy. And she's been good for my healing. She's been good for me, you know, and to transition that memory of pigs to something that's lovely. It's like to replace it, if you like, to take that horribleness out of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
Absolutely. It's interesting. It's very interesting talking about pigs because, you know, I mean, I know Jewish people, for religious reasons, are not allowed to eat pork. And I actually read something somewhere the other day, can't remember where, that pigs were actually created by humans from human DNA.
Yes, I've
So
heard that, and yeah.
yes, and that's why they are so intelligent, because pigs are extremely intelligent. I mean, you know, it's said that a pig has the intelligence of a 9-year-old child. I mean, that or 7-year-old child one. And that's a very intelligent animal, right? Because I mean, look, you can see. I mean, a little pig. You have a pig as a pet. That thing is as smart as a razor. It really is as sharp as a little razor. I mean, they are very, very cute. I just know that. And it's interesting that when they're doing these horrendous experiments and things in the system, Jesse's often spoken about in the past how in the breeder program they would operate on these pregnant girls, and they would put pig snouts, little hooves and things, so they have these half pig, half human births. And apparently, I mean, these creatures live. I don't know what else to call them. But this is just
Wow.
so disturbing. Yeah. So to actually then feed, because it makes sense then in the Jewish faith why pork, it always says it's unclean meat, why pork should not be consumed, because it's almost like cannibalism then, if what we're hearing is true. Wow.
I mean, look at them. Just look at their faces and their eyes. You know, animals are no different to us. They are a soul. They are alive. They are a consciousness. You know, they're just in
Absolutely.
their own skins. And when you communicate with them, you can see it. You can feel them. You know, it's there. They're so
Well,
intelligent.
I'm
Even
then
our
walking with
parents.
the donkeys this weekend because they've got donkey. I love donkeys, I have to tell you, because a donkey was the first animal I was able to communicate with. They are the cutest. And isn't it interesting when you look at a donkey, why are they so abused? I mean, isn't a donkey the animal that brought in Jesus Christ as a tiny little baby? Yet they are so abused. I mean, it's like, why? Why has every Christian not got a donkey in their backyard as an honor to bringing in the Christ, literally, right? So, but they are amazing. I mean, they are the most talkative, sociable, adorable creatures. You know, so yeah. But anyway, and as you're saying, and I'm not going to keep us much longer. I know today's been quite a heavy session talking about these things, and I don't want to absolutely take it too far for us today. But just what you were saying about that you recently, I know you've got a farm healing sanctuary, and we're going to talk a lot more about that in the future as well, where you work a lot with the kangaroos, the joeys, as healing animals, and you've also you took on a pig, and the pigs are just, and as you say, it was part of your healing, and just sort of as we start wrapping up the show, how has it been for you with the pig? I mean, that must have been, I can imagine, for a child to have that association with the pig, obviously seeing them devour the human body, right? Little kids, and there must be such a disgust. I don't know if the word is disgust, but I don't know what emotion one as a child could possibly associate with that. Fear, but also, I remember seeing a movie not a number of years ago, and I have no idea what the movie was, but I remember that there were these human-eating pigs. So they, as a punishment or whatever, they threw these people in with these human-eating pigs. Now, but in that movie, I remember that it had something. These pigs were like, just like, they weren't normal pigs. They were like huge and whatever, special human-eating pigs. It wasn't like a pig that you'd have on the farm or something. And I mean, also having grown up on the farm, I loved them. And those little piglets, I loved them. I mean, they're the cutest little things. They were scream like that, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, when you're looking at that, and you're making that association to the pig, and to actually going as far now as part of your healing to actually rescuing this beautiful pig. How has that been for you?
As I said, it was real fear at first to go up close to the pig. My son, who's nearly 7 foot tall, he's a big man, which is lovely. I had him with me whenever I was around Dorothy at first, and that was my safety, because he was stronger than the pig, I hoped, and he was in the end. It was really great. And slowly, I kept telling to myself, no, Dorothy and those other pigs were just eating. They were eating what they were used to getting. It was nothing to them. They didn't know what they were doing. They weren't in control of that. So I got no reason to fear and hate a pig. Put the anger and the hate back where it belongs. Don't put it on something else. So it took me many, many, many months, and I formed that relationship with her. And believe me, on some days when she's getting all excited too much, I won't go in the pen with her because she'll knock me over for 6. So being balanced there, of course. But no, we've got to, and it takes away, and I say, replace the old with something that you create now. So you take out that ugliness and that fear and that, disdain and disgust in the memory and what was seen. Yeah.
That association.
That's how I did it. Yeah.
Because that was really not about the pigs at all. That was about depraved human beings that were just being very depraved and doing something.
So that's why, and that's how, and she'll be with us until, she dies and her time's up. I love it, and she loves Wheat Bix in the morning for breakfast.
That's so cute.
and just a body cam, and I'll let everybody see them at some other stages too.
That's amazing. I'd love to see that. And then, of course, just in closing, you have the cutest little joeys and things that you work with.
I do.
So how did you get to work with the kangaroos? I mean, or how did the kangaroos come into your picture?
Okay, because we grew up in the wheat belt, and we used to go out and shooting kangaroos, rabbits. They were all part of how we grew up. We ate them. It was normal. And if they shot females, then Mum taught us how to raise them. Okay. And as I got older and older, I got into it as an adult after I was married. And I stopped it for a while when I had children, but I've been doing it now for over 20, 25 years. And again, bringing those joeys in when they lose their mother, they've lost their reason, they've lost everything. They're in trauma. And if they get stress myopathy, they won't decide to live. So to me, if I could love that joey enough for that joey in that first 72 hours to make that decision to live, that's a healing in my heart. Because
Right.
that little joey decided to live. So I was giving enough love, and I was getting as much love. And that's where my healing really started, of my inner child, that small child. And I still do them and love them, and they still heal me today, and I still help them get back out into that wild world and be that kangaroo. It's a win-win situation, Chantelle. It really
I,
works.
I believe you. You showed me little videos of your two little babies. I mean, I totally get that it's a win-win situation. You know, having grown up on the farm, I was often feeding little sheep and lambs and goats and calves and all piglets, and had lots of chickens and that sort of thing. So yeah, I totally get that. I've never touched a kangaroo, never even seen one live, but I will definitely intend to. But they are just so cute. So you use them as healing animals, right?
Yes, and I work with others that need healing. Like I've worked a lot with domestic violence. I've worked with families, case managing, and over the years, I've actually had joeys that I've been able to train to go and visit these families and help reconnect some of these men that have their own trauma and never looked at it, and are now coming out as domestic violence and hurting those around them. And those joeys, because of their vibration, they're the ones that touch their hearts. And they suddenly realize, what am I doing? I'm doing this to my family. It doesn't always work. We don't know, it doesn't work all the time, but it does work. And when it does, that's worth everything, because those men suddenly come back to love to their heart. So that's what melts it and helps them, and then come back to their family and back to love. They are magnificent animals when it comes to trauma. We've had starlight children out here, and one that came out has been in remission ever since. So, and he's starting a job now,
Wow.
and he was 12 when he came out. So
And how old is he
it's
now?
so 19, I do believe, yes. And he'll never
Wow.
forget that. And it was the healing. And I also made sure I had chickens hatching at the same time, because he wanted them, he liked them. So we'll do anything we can here. And you just get one that they're not the only success stories we've got, but even one success story makes every bit of it worth it. You know, and this young one's going on, and he's doing really well. So hey, it works. They are magnificent animals.
Wow. That is really, really unbelievable and just so beautiful. I have Amanda Alley wants to know, do you accept visitors, Joanne?
I do so. Yes, I do. We take in anyone who'd like to come and have a look. See, only thing we ask is that you text me and say who you are and what you would like. And then I will
Can
give
I
you a
put
call
your
back.
details in the chat section, yeah, for people to
Yes,
contact you?
just my phone number, please, Chantelle. Not where we are at this stage, because I'll do that from here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you want an email address or a phone number? What's better for you?
No, my phone number's good, because
Okay,
everyone,
what is
as
it?
I ask, it's 04
Is that
99.
+4?
Oh,
What is it? It's
6.
okay, oh
Is
04,
it?
give me oh 04, all right?
Okay, 99
0499,
772
yeah?
049.
49. So it's 0499772049.
Yes, thank you. And all I
Okay,
ask
so I'm putting, yeah, sorry?
all I'm asking is text me, say who you are, mention Chantelle's show, and I will get back to you and we can go from there. Don't try and ring me because we have rescues. We are very busy and your number may get lost in others ringing for kangaroos or wildlife being rescued.
Please text and mention the show. Okay. Wow. Well, so there you Aussies, and yeah, okay. So wherever you are, Curiosity says might get a busload of us, Joe. That sounds
How
amazing.
beautiful.
Yeah, can you imagine? I'm jealous. I'm super jealous.
Oh.
I'd be the first one there, I swear. I'd be the first one there. But anyway, so yeah, you guys have got Joanne's phone number now, and you can just text her, just mention to her that you heard about this on the show. And I think what I'm going to do as well is I'll put your details in the description area as well. And then we can, let me just put that in there again. I'm just going to put it in there again, put it in there.
While you're doing that, I'm just going to walk over.
Are you going to show us the Joey? Your sound is gone. Look at that little thing. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Guys, how adorable are those little munchkins? I mean, look at those ears. Oh my loves. How can you not be healed by those little things? Wow. That is absolutely adorable. Wow, wow, wow. Amanda, I think just please just text Joanne, and she will give you all of that where she is. She doesn't want to mention that over here on air, which is understandable. So if you guys can just use the number 0499772049, Joanne Breeze, and just let her know that you are from my show, and you might be interested in going there. Your sound is off, Joanne. Your sound disappeared. Can't hear you. Sound is gone. Okay. No. All right. Well, we're not going to hassle about that too much now because we've come to the end of our show anyway. And can't hear you, babe. Can't hear you. Scotty, I think if you need to you need to go and collect yourself one of those little babies as well. You've got so many cute ones at your house as it is. Okay, so there's no sound, Joanne. Unfortunately, we've lost sound. We've lost contact with your sound. But can't hear you. Can you hear me? Okay. Our sound is gone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to love and leave you guys and end off here. It's obviously the perfect time to end the show. Crazy story, another crazy story, which, as I was saying earlier on, never ever ceases to shock me. And I want to just say thank you so much for watching Joanne. She's a newbie on Ara. She will be here again in the future. Love the Aussies and their stories. Thank you so much for sharing so openly and so candidly. And we look forward to seeing you soon. No, your sound is gone, but I'll hang on the line. I'll see. Maybe I'll talk to you off air. Okay, everybody. God bless you all. And thank you so much for joining us today. It's such a pleasure to have you guys in the chat and supporting our overcomers and our survivors. It is really special. And for those of you in Australia, please, make contact with Joanne because of her beautiful little Joeys and her healing sanctuary that she has there using the animals. We'll be talking about that quite a bit more in the future. Okay, everybody, God bless you all. And again, thank you so much to our amazing Patreons for the support you give me. Really appreciate that. And I look forward to seeing you later. Yes, we will have Caleb on this evening as well, Caleb Jade. I know he's had some health issues going on and had death in the family as well. So, but yeah, we'll get back there slowly. I had some sound issues on the internet yesterday. So yeah, but you know what, guys? We're just gonna mosey on through and we will most definitely get there. Okay, just wait. I know I'm gonna see you now. I'm gonna talk to you now. Okay, guys. God bless you all. Thank you. Cherry buys. Where are we going now?